And we are recording. Welcome back, everyone, to the SmartCast MTG YouTube. I'm John Morris. Bloody Anvil's in game. This is my Morris Storm deck. I have been playing this quite a bit. It's got a pretty decent record right now. I'm not on Untapped GG yet. I haven't figured all that stuff out. I'm just kind of really coming back to the game after about a year break, and before that, it was like 3 years. Something like that. I've been playing Magic since 2010. That's just a little bit about me. Um, Caw-Blade was like my mainstay deck, and then I played Mono Green Infect for a while. Um, 2013 around there, I was playing like Gruul Aggro and Bant Super Friends, but Storm was always my favorite mechanic. I played a lot of Storm. I played a lot of Affinity, but something about Storm was it was it. It was the end all be all. And when I saw that Storm was back, it literally made me come back to the game. And this is my Storm deck. So we're running 4 of Sleight of Hand. It's just a draw. Look at the top 2 cards of your library. It's a sorcery. One of them in your hand, one of them on the bottom of your library. It's a 1-cost cantrip. Shot, deals 2 damage any target. Instant. Experimental Augury is a look at top 3 of your library, put one of them in your hand, and the rest of the bottom of your library in any order, proliferate. So proliferate means you add a counter to, well, it's right here. Actually, you can see it in the card text. Choosing a number of permanents or players, give them a counter of one they already have. So if it were like toxic, you could give them a toxic counter. Planeswalkers get an extra counter, which is why we're running this. It's a 2 cost. Oftentimes it's a 1 cost. We'll get into why it's a 1 cost later. But the extra counter on Ral, um, everything's all based around Ral. So let's talk about Ral real quick. So, Planeswalker 4 cost, 2 generic, a red and a blue. So when you cast a non-creature spell, put a loyalty counter on Ral Crackling Wit. So anytime, anytime, it's actually so easy to get Ral to 10. That was my first concern when seeing this. I was like, this is going to have to be some kind of a control deck to get him there. And it really is. This is really, is it storm control is probably what I'd call it. Um, so when you cast Experimental Augury, you're getting 2 counters on round. So 1 Augury plus 2 round. Same thing with Serum Snare because of the proliferate. So um, return target non-land permanent to its owner hand. Non-land permanent. All right, so we're talking planeswalkers, we're talking creatures, artifacts, enchantments. All of this stuff, you can bounce it back if it's less than 3 on the mana curve. Mana value 3 or less proliferate. So once again, that's another 2 for round. So Serum Snare specifically, I put in this deck to get around Shieldred and to get around Phyrexian Obliterator. It's a useful card for any aggro. You can hit your own otters with it if you need to. But more or less, this was specifically put in this deck for Shieldred and Phyrexian Obliterator. Because those are 2 cards you're going to have a lot of issues with if you don't have the answers, which sometimes you just don't have them and you just lose. But these are to help prevent those kinds of situations. And then we've got Impulse. We'll backtrack a little bit, keep going down the line. So Impulse, instant, 1 in a blue. Look at the top 4 cards. Put one of them into your hand. It's not draw. Put and draw are 2 different. They are the same thing, but they're 2 different mechanics. The wording is very crucial here because I have chosen Impulse over other draw spells specifically because it says put. Put also gets around Shieldred. I won a match the other day where I was at 2 life, and I impulsed. I had Storm. I impulsed, found some more draw. But what I also found was a way to answer their Shieldred, which was a Serum Snare. So bounced them as Serum Snare. Along with Storm count 2. and then I just continued on, and I ended up killing them with a shock with like Storm 6 on it. So Impulse is a way around Shieldred. It lets you dig for 4, which is actually incredibly crucial. Um, Digging for 4 helps you find the answers you really could need, or how to start setting up for the late game. Um, yeah, so looking at my notes here, Serum Snare gets around Obliterator, so yeah, so we're all caught up. So Artist Talent right here. This card's huge. Um, it is card filtering to the nth degree. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, that's any spell that's in this deck. And whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. So this is card filtering very, very quickly. Um, you're flooded. Yeah, maybe there's a downside to ditching lands, but if you're absolutely flooded, this is a way to get you back on track. You might be missing future land drops, but um, this fantastic. The level 2 is your cost reduction. So non-creature spells are 1 less to cast. Literally everything in the deck gets a -1 on its cost. And then the level 3, which is not something to do all the time, but I find myself doing a lot against mono black, discard, or um, really anything that doesn't have a way to answer an enchantment or bounce it or anything like that. The level 3 takes your shock to 4 damage. It takes your lightning strike to 5 damage. It takes your flame lash to 6 damage. All of that is huge, especially when you're stormed. So if you get a storm 5 and you drop a shock and you have this leveled up to 3, you just win. This is without artist talent and Ral. I think this deck just doesn't run without artist talent. Your lightning strike, it's your typical burn spell. It's a 2 cost. It's a one generic and a red. Instant speed for deal 3 damage. Pearl of Wisdom, I really struggled with. So it's like a divination. It's a 3 cost sorcery. The spell costs one less to cast if you control an otter, and then you draw 2 cards. So it's a divination, but the cost on it can actually get really, really low. Probably 1 out of every, I don't know, 3, 4 matches, you're costing this as a 1 cost. It's not win more, it's just good. Um, it's just really good. Uh, Moving on to Brotherhood's End. So Brotherhood's End is also kind of like a mainstay in what's going on right now with Bloomburrow releasing. We're moving we're moving very heavily into aggro decks, which we already had a bunch of aggro decks. We had like Jeskai Pirates and all this other stuff. But Brotherhood's End is a good way to turn 3 just stabilize the board. Or turn 4 stabilize the board. Yes, it does hit Ral. It hits Ral for 3 damage. If you don't like that, and if you think this is a little bad, which at times it can be, there is another option, but I like Brotherhood's End personally. Ral taking damage, I don't really care about because he's going to get to 10 regardless. If they can't answer him or just flat out kill him, he's going to win you the game. The Brotherhood's End, I think, allows you to do that. So then we got Urabrask Forge. Urabrask Forge is kind of a lot of times in this matchup, you're just taking a lot of damage, and they're just able to swing pretty freely if they have bigger stuff or they have a lot of stuff. So this is where running the 3 main board Brotherhood's End comes in, but Urabrask's Forge lets you put them on a timer. If they don't have an answer to the Forge, then you just win. Typically, you just win because you're looking at Trample Haste. Every turn it gets bigger, and then guess what? your proliferate spells add counters to this as well. So you drop a Forge turn 3, you drop a Ral turn 4. Turn 5 comes around. Let's say you Serum Snare something. All right, now Forge gets a counter, so it's automatically bigger. Now Ral gets its 2 counters, so Ral's cooking now too. It's honestly such a it's not something I want to see all the time. That's why I'm running it 2 of, but I'd like to see at least 1 a game. And with the amount of draw and card filtering, you pretty much see every card that's in your deck once a game. Sometimes you get all 3 Brotherhoods in. Sometimes you get all 4 rounds. It's just kind of you have to pick and choose. This deck you can't just play this deck and win. You have to think about, all right, really planning ahead. Sometimes it's you have to stabilize the board state now, and that's going to kill your Ral with Brotherhood's End or something like that. But typically, even a Brotherhood's End, you're going to leave Ral with 1 or 2 loyalty points, and then you'll just be able to +1 or something like that, and then make an otter and stabilize the board state. But you have to plan ahead a little bit. It's not as simple as, oh, I'm just going to play this. And something else I found is you are planning ahead, but you also have to commit to the combo like it's gonna go off. You have to completely commit to Ral, but that doesn't mean that you can't let Ral die, and that doesn't mean that you can't -3 Ral to draw cards also. So every card in here, of course, is just a utility to try to win. That's what you're trying to do with any deck, is just win. But you have to once you have, or you're creeping up on being able to storm off, get that -10 with Ral, you have to fully commit. You can win with a stormed Ral and 4 mana. You just have to have the right cards coming in. And oftentimes, artist talent is going to be how you filter out those cards, because you storm off, you do something, and then artist talent goes off. And then, so the stormed card will go, the stormed card ability will go, then artist talent will go, and then you get to pick, like, okay, well, I've stormed 2 now for this Sleight of Hand. Okay, well, now I can ditch this land because I've already played my land for the turn. So you can just keep ditching lands and just keep going and going and going, and then eventually, you get that storm for lightning strike for 1 cost, and you just get them down to like 3 health, or you just finish them off. Typically, when you storm off, you just win. So an unanswered Ral wins you the match. An unanswered Forge can help win you the match. You've got 8 damage. You've got 24 damage main board from all your burn spells without any buffs from your artist talent or Ral or anything like that. You've got enough just straight out burn in the deck to win. If that's what it came down to. So, but let's talk about sideboard now. Real quick, land base. The only card I really wanted to touch on. I'm running a lot of basics. I'm running a lot of basics because these other lands are too slow. Tap lands for the Surveil, pretty cool. I don't like ditching cards that I could need early on in the match. If I'm going to ditch a card, I'd rather do it with artist talent and not let my lands do it also. Yeah, it could set you up to do better, but you're losing so much of your engine so quickly with no way to get it back. Fabled Passage, I'd just like to point out. So, yeah, maybe it's a no-brainer, but for folks that haven't thought of it like this, Fabled Passage, yeah, it's a mana fixer. It's deck thinning, so you're pulling 2 cards out, realistically, when you play Fabled Passage, because you're playing the Fabled Passage and you're pulling a card out. But here's the thing. So if let's say you impulse through any of these other draws, they don't go to the grave, right? They go on the bottom of the library. Well, you crack your Fabled Passage, all those cards that you had to stuff on the bottom are now shuffled back into your deck, so you have a chance to get in and draw them again. So if you're looking for a specific card, you can better your odds in a way of getting that card. Let's say you're looking for the one Flame Lash and you had to put it on the bottom. Yeah, of course, you crack your Fable and it shuffles back in. It gives you, it could end up back on the bottom, but it could also be your next draw. But if you're digging a lot and you're just stuffing like 12 cards on the bottom of your deck, and uh, that means that out of all those cards, that's still not the one you're looking for. So you still have a better chance of getting what you need. Say it's a Brotherhood's End. You get a better chance of grabbing that Brotherhood because you know all those 12 cards on the bottom, well, realistically, 9 cards on the bottom, are going to be something you don't want. So you can hold off on cracking that Fabled Passage until maybe next turn and see what's going on. And then crack the passage, reshuffle your deck, put everything back to where it needed to be. And then, maybe you just couldn't find that card, but you needed a card that was on the bottom. Anyway, it's something to think about. There are times when you want to crack it, there are times when you don't want to crack it. So just keep that into consideration. It's more than just mana fixing and thinning the deck. There's a little bit of play of moving cards around in your deck for free. And pretty much that's it. We're going into the sideboard. So this is Artifact Hate specifically. So Brotherhood's End is also Artifact Hate. It's destroy all artifacts with mana 3 or less, or deal 3 damage to each creature and planeswalker. So you get to pick that. So if they're running straight up that blue-black or blue-green artifact deck, I don't remember what color it is, Brotherhood's End just absolutely rips them apart. But Gleeful Demolition is another option here, and I'm running 4 of it just because I don't think I'd ever actually side in 4, but it's just there. So you're looking at your, Gleeful. It's destroy target artifact for 1 cost. If you control that artifact, create 3 1/1s. I don't see myself honestly destroying any of my stuff coming in because we're not really making any artifacts, right? So this is really just a 1 cost. I'm going to blow up an artifact. Lithomantic Barrage, there's a 1 of spell can't be countered, which is important sometimes. So this is really just for if I want to blow up a bunch of tokens, specifically rabbits. So deals 5 damage to if it were white or blue. So there's a reason it's only a 1 of. There's a reason it's only a 1 of because if this does 5 damage to your Row if your Row's out. Oh, excuse me. No, it doesn't. This isn't the card I was thinking of. This is the single target. Target creature or planeswalker, and 5 if it was white or blue. This isn't the card I was thinking of. I was thinking of... Stand by 1. I was thinking of... No, I don't even see it. Maybe I've got it in here already. Anyway, it's a 3 cost like Brotherhood's End, and it deals 2. I'm only running 1 of it. Serum Snare. It's another for if you're running into like really, really heavy matches where you can't deal damage to the creatures, like Phyrexian Obliterator, or it's gonna just wipe all your mana. Then you got Wrenn's Resolve. So Wrenn's Resolve is another. It's a board card. It's 4 of 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a 4 of, right? It's a 4 of. It can either replace Pearl. It can replace Augury. Typically, I think I'd probably replace Augury with Wrenn's Resolve, keep the Pearl. This card gets around Shieldred. In that mono black matchup, if you're having problems getting rid of Shieldred so you can slam your actual draw cards, or you can storm your Row. It's not a bad card to have. I would replace Augury with your Resolve, or Pearl with Resolve, one of the two. Completely up to you. The fourth Brotherhood's End, a third Urabrask Forge, one more Flame Lash, and one Temporal Firestorm. Okay, yeah. So this is the 5 damage, not the Lithomantic. So this is just in there as like a really big board wipe, but is also a way to keep your Row or a specific creature. Really just your Row. The otters don't matter much. And this isn't going to hit your Forge. So the only thing you have to worry about is your Row. But everything else is going to get hit for 5 or 7 if you have one artist talent fully leveled up. So, but all in all, you got Tech Hazard also. Deals 1 damage to each opponent and each creature they control. It's also just like a big token wiper. Sometimes, I mean, any of this can be too slow, but this is why I have it in here. More or less, you want to keep this as true as you can and only sub maybe 1 card out. You're not trying to change the whole deck up, because it's not going to run right if you do that. You take out a draw, you put in a draw. Serum Snare feels too slow. Well, that's when you throw in like barrages or tech hazards. And all of this is just kind of, it is what it is. Most of the time, actually most of the time I don't even sideboard. Thanks for watching. We really had a lot of positive feedback. I say we. Smartcast MTG is not just, it is just me right now, but in the future it's not going to be. I've got a buddy that's going to be coming on. He's going to be showing his decks. He's going to be doing deck techs. We're going to be playing kind of different stuff, but as of right now, this is my Morris Storm for Bloomburrow. And this is kind of actually where I'm sitting at right now. I've played a lot of matches with it this far. Some changes were really bad. Some changes were really good. Actually, real quick, let's talk about why we don't run a couple cards. So, Flick a Coin. Some people might ask, well, why aren't you running Flick a Coin? Because it's a 3 cost, and it does a lot, right? But it's win more, in my opinion. It's very win more. 1 damage to target's not going to win you the game. 1 treasure token is not going to win you the game. And drawing 1 card might win you the game, but not for 3. So if Artist Talent's up, it's a 2 cost, and then you're still looking at, I mean, the treasure is the best part of this, and the draw. So it's treasure and a draw for 2. That's really not terrible, but it's win more. It doesn't, playing this card by itself isn't going to help you stabilize a board state. It's just going to help you get ahead on mana and card advantage. This doesn't fix anything that's going on. I think Flick a Coin is a good card, but in this deck, I think it's win more. As for Volt Charge, a lot of people are probably going to wonder why we're not running Volt Charge, because it's a Lightning Strike plus Proliferate. Well, it's also 3 cost, and at 3 cost with 1 talent going, that's 2 cost. Okay, well, that's super nice, but my Lightning Strike is a 1 cost with talent going, and it's a lot easier to storm off playing 1 cost cards than it is 2 costs. So don't run Volt Charge. There is a card that I think would be okay, grabby giant, but I think it's win more. It's one cost, create a treasure token, so it's like a free interaction in the sense of the 1 mana you cast. If you have talent going, you get it back. So it's a free storm card. Kind of win more. It it yeah. It can help you get free interaction to build loyalty counters. I don't think it's very good. There's a new otter that I do think actually uh Coruscation Mage. So whenever you cast a non-creature spell, this deals 1 damage to each opponent with an offspring cost of 2. So for 4, you get 2 of them. I think this card could actually maybe be sideboardable. I've thought about it, maybe even like dropping a couple Gleefuls and dropping 1 Wrenns and putting 3 of these in. I think this is actually a pretty good card in control matchups, specifically for you go in and they see no creatures your first match. I've put a lot of thought into this. It just hasn't made it in yet. Might actually make it in right now. Actually, let's go ahead. Let's drop 2 Gleefuls. Do I have enough to make this? I actually have no uncommons. So Gleeful's going to go back in for now. But I think that Otter Mage is going to be useful in control matches where they see no creatures, so they take their hard counters out for creatures. Okay, they're like, there's no reason to run this. I can just side this out and put something else in. Well, that might be a good matchup for that. Actually, let's put more Lithomantics in. Alright, so now we got some more Lithomantics in. So we're 15 and 60. We are done. Alright, open this back up. And like I said, everybody, thanks so much for, checking out the channel, checking out the decks and everything. I mean, we got an astounding amount of like positive comments, and the viewership was really good on the first Storm deck that we put out. So thanks so much for that. I mean, it really does mean a lot. The comments saying like, "Oh, this deck is awesome," that feels really good. That people are seeing it, and I hope people are playing it. And if you are playing this deck, then please let me know, because that's what I want. The views and all that stuff don't really matter. I just want this deck to be known that Storm exists, and it's not just playing off of otters. It's like to me, this feels like true Storm, but like Storm control. It still combos, but you're playing all these slower pieces to establish the game state to where um, turn 5. I mean, I've had a lot of turn 5 and 6 wins. I think I'd say consistently you're seeing maybe 6 or 7. So the turn after a Sunfall might be kind of hard, because if your Rowl's there and you haven't hit that emblem, but that's just something you have to keep in mind when you're playing like a white control deck. But all in all, commit to your combo, play smart. Don't be afraid to lose a round. You don't have to like try to save Ral all the time. Like if they're swinging in with their biggest attacker towards Ral, and you've got your 1/1 otter, and you know you're going to take like 7 trample damage, it might be just beneficial to keep that otter and save it for when they swing at your face. Um, the more you play, the more you'll see the interactions I'm kind of referring to. But the deck's not incredibly difficult to play. You just have to uh, know what you're looking for what matchup. I'm still learning a lot of that. Like I said, I'm returning back, so a lot of the meta I'm unfamiliar with, but I'm trying to re-familiarize myself with. But this is the truest form of Storm I could come up with right now. And guys, just thanks so much for watching, and hope the audio turned out all right on this. And I'll catch you later. Eat your vegetables, and see you.